Welcome back to another episode of the Hunger Games brought to you by the universe. I am your host, Kay Moon, and this is a Leo new moon solar eclipse update. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, this eclipse takes place on August 12th, 1:47 p.m. May the odds be ever at your side. Just kidding, it's not that bad. This is actually a really good one. Comparatively, compared to what we have been experiencing all year, I actually really love this new moon for us. I feel like it has a lot of positive, super auspicious vibes to it. It's actually one of the most positive eclipses in the Aquarius Leo eclipse cycle. And if you want to get a quick overview of everything in that eclipse cycle, you will find that over here on my YouTube channel in the section that's called Live. I did a breakdown of the full Aquarius Leo eclipse cycle back in, well, it says 5 months ago. So I think it was just earlier this year. But I broke down what we can expect. I moved from eclipse to eclipse. The link for that is going to be just below this video. It's free, it's still here on YouTube, so that you can have an opportunity to just observe what is not just this eclipse, but the entire cycle about on the Aquarius Leo axis. And how does this particular eclipse fit into the themes that we're going to see unfold as we move from this moment and as we came into this moment? There's our eclipse at the 20th degree of Leo. And we see an interesting aspect here that it is in direct opposition to an energy known as Chariklo. Chariklo operates as the energy of divine intercession and blessing. And we do see that with Chariklo retrograde in opposition to this new moon, this withdraws blessing, it withdraws intercession in groups, and it withdraws safety in numbers. It withdraws the option to hide behind other people. And now we have to stand or sit, sink or swim on our own with this bright energy here in Leo. There's also a trine here to Lilith in Sagittarius, which I kind of like this part. This is where this gives us what we're going to want to do anyway, which is march to the beat of our own drum, define our own path, define our own truth. And this is one energy that shouts, "Don't tell me what to do." So you may find a little of that in your own field. Maybe a little bit of defensiveness in some cases, in other cases, that sort of toddler, I can do it by myself, let me do it sort of frequency for yourself. And for others, this is really good for people who may have been a bit of a pushover in their lived circumstances with other folks at work, at home, and family. But if you know you can get testy at the slightest indication of being told, taught, condescended to, scolded, redirected, or corrected, be mindful that people will just be trying to help at this full moon. It will come from a good place, but our reactions might be a little too over the top, and it'll be good to tone it down or just be prepared to make amends for disproportionate reactions at this time. I also love to see this trine here too. A little group over here in Aries, Saturn, Pallas, Eris, and Vesta, right there in order. This is where there's a bit of self-protectionism in this energy that's corrective and really aligned for growth. The only true sort of planetary conversation with this particular new moon solar eclipse is Saturn, and Saturn is retrograde. The rest of everything I'm highlighting here, it's all asteroids, centaur, like these sorts of, the TNOs. these sorts of things in the sky, these sorts of luminaries. But for Saturn to be really the only bold conversation maker, speaking to this new moon solar eclipse and by trine and retrograde, no less, there's a very specific story it's telling, especially coming from the position of Aries. Both Aries and Leo are signs that deal with ourself, and but in different ways. Aries specifically, where Saturn sits, is our own self, it's our identity, it's our sense of who we are in the world. But Leo here is more of our own authority over our world, our sense of personal will, and our sense of self-autonomy and creativity. Even our inner child is a Leonine governed feature. And so with the eclipse in Leo, new moon, solar eclipse, this is a big new beginning. But then Saturn in Aries, this is a restructuring of identity that has been ongoing since the beginning of this year. This speaks to a rebirth of self, a resurrection of self in some key ways. And what I like to see about this uh, is that there's the self-ascension energy really inherent in this eclipse makes personal changes inescapable. And for those who have really struggled with mastery of how do I escape who I've always been, or how do I become a version of myself that I've never seen before, an eclipse like this will give you all of the astrological energetic oomph that you need to make it happen. Okay. And so with Eris retrograde, so here is, let me move some of these things around because I want to speak to some of the smaller objects here. Here's Eris. This one is Vesta. This one is Chiron. This one is Pallas. With the Eris retrograde and not as close to Chiron as it's been all year, these two have been running neck and neck, so to speak, and Chiron is finally the furthest it's going to get from Eris. It's going to retrograde back and then start having a deeper conversation with Eris again. Those of you who've been with me here on this channel have heard me talk about this for some time. These two are the great self-victimization duo here. The two of them together bring out the mutual aspects of their story having to do with rejection, disenfranchisement, and abandonment. And so now that Chiron is finally just enough further away for Eris to stand on its own, on her own here, we get a little bit of a break from some of the undercurrent this year of feeling really victimized by our circumstances when our circumstances, they're here in Aries, are an outpicturing of our own identity. Okay. Um, so I want to speak to some of the ways these stories aren't always obvious. In the Eris mythology, the righteous riot and righteous rage that we see affiliated with this goddess always came out in response to being left out. She didn't sow discord just to sow discord. She sowed discord as an act of protest. But with the conjunction to Chiron earlier this year and soon to return as we close the year, there's an element to this that is very personal in Aries. Now, like I said, Chiron is now 5 degrees away for the time being. And we still have that undercurrent ongoing, but we have the opportunity to look at it with some more space. And the spaciousness lets us see where we may still feel victim to challenges that we now have more power than we've had all year to overcome with this exceptionally empowering eclipse. Now, for some, this is realizing you're not victim to your job. For others, it's realizing you're not victim to your friend group and what they're doing. For others, this is coming to know you're not victim to your family patterns or your family past. And still, for others, this is realizing you're not beholden to your country or any authority figure that requires your disenfranchisement. You can move. With the solar eclipse in Leo, the sign of self sovereignty, this is what truly heralds a new beginning that's about standing on our own name, owning our willpower, and taking control of our life, its direction, and our outcomes. This becomes about taking our power back from systems that have left us with less of it, whether that system is a pantheon of fellow gods and goddesses constantly ostracizing us, as it was for Eris, or the system is a family or friendship dynamic that only works if we play the role of the black sheep, or the role of the constant rescuer and hero, or the role of the doormat, or the role of the counselor, or the role of the unstable one, or the role of the initiator, or a job situation where you constantly have to make yourself small and thwart your own potential to appease your boss or that tricky coworker. You get the idea here. There is some sort of, because of Saturn's activity here, restructuring of self to be more personally in alignment with who we are by listening to the victim stories we may have been living and then rewriting them in present time. Okay. Um, And this stack in Aries helps. Saturn is the boundary maker, but in retrograde motion, Saturn loosens our rigidity of self. So we have some flexibility to step out of who we've always been. And the idea of this is just the way it always is. Pallas here, who I haven't spoken about much just yet, she offers protection in the sign of the self, and Eris retrograde pulls back the hardcore participation in either our own victimization to other self-centeredness or participation in others' self-victimization and agreement with it, so that we can start to question the stories that we're telling ourselves. Now, I like this a lot, but I understand that this can be deeply challenging. Saturn and Neptune together in the sign of Aries this year have really called a lot of us to divest from the places where we root our identity in some way, shape, or form. For some of you, that's your health. You've always felt strong and healthy. And in 2026, that got questioned and compromised. For others, it's your job. You've always felt accomplished or like an achiever. And in 2026, that got challenged and undermined. For others, still, it's your role in your family. You've been the strong one. People have relied on you for that. And in 2026, you really you've been told multiple times that you have to put your own oxygen mask on first and begin to let other people rise and stand in their own name for their own self. This transit with Saturn speaking to this eclipse in particular opens the pathway for a finalization of some of these stories where they may have gotten started with a big earthquake earlier this year, but now you know what the work is. Now you know what you're supposed to be growing through. Now you know what changes you have to make. Saturn's movement through Aries has forced everyone's hand when it comes to cutting off, shutting down, separating from anything that causes us to be less than our best self, truest self, most self-expressed self. And because this solar eclipse, new beginning in Leo, causes us to need to stand up for ourselves even more, anything in conflict with that is going to get exposed at this time. So situations with friends, situation with family, situations at work, situations with your neighbor, with your landlord, etc., where you are being asked to be less of you so someone else can be more of them. This is where you're going to find there's breakdown, there's decoherence, there's collapse here. And as a result of that, this period of time is meant to help you and them give birth to a new sense of self so that you can both come back together, if you so choose, from a place of deeper, richer, fuller wholeness. That's really what Saturn's work is for us. Saturn is the restorer of wholeness and integrity. It's the restorer of the things that have been taken from us by oppressive entities. And so a lot of times people will identify Saturn. He's the disciplinarian, the harsh teacher, the boundary maker. He's the one who cuts off and severs. But this is really if you're only listening to the mythology of Saturn and Uranus from the male gaze perspective. If we take it from the female gaze, Saturn only castrated Gaia's lover, Uranus, at Gaia's request because Uranus was hurting her. And she said, hey, I need some intervention. I need help. I'm being the babies that I make, and this is what I do, and this is my job. I produce life, are being pushed back into me. I need someone to stop that so that I can be myself again. And that's what Saturn provided for her. If we look at the Saturnian mythology, from that piece of the female gaze. Now, granted, it gets messy after that, trust. There's way more and it gets way messy. But if we take that specific piece that Saturn's really known for and we look at it from the feminine gaze, we see that Saturn is also a protective mechanism. Saturn guards, Saturn restores wholeness. And so, with Saturn in Aries this year, Saturn has been doing its hardest work at separating us from any and everything that compromises our true self. So, if you lost a job this year, if you lost a friend this year, if you lost a home this year, whatever you lost this year, the higher picture of it is that there is a place of wholeness you are about to step into, that holding on to that specific thing would have actually compromised. And the time for that new beginning is now with this solar eclipse. So I say all of that to say that Pallas is bringing protection. Chiron and Eris here, these two are forcing us to let go of the hand of victim stories. And Vesta is asking us to double down on our protection of who we are and our investment in who we are. So I like to see this combination. As I said, I think this is going to be one of the best new moons of the year, certainly one of the absolute best headed into the second half of the year. I don't know that it gets better than this based on everything I've seen that's coming. This is truly going to be a resurrection of self eclipse. Milk it, where you need to start a new thing, take on a new identity, become a new version of yourself. Now is absolutely the time. Okay. We see a loose sextile to the shaman's asteroid here. And this is opening the path for us to integrate lessons in love and relationship that have been necessary in order to come into partnership as a whole self and meeting another whole self. Everyone's getting the Saturnian lesson, be a whole self this year. So now with this eclipse, we have an opportunity for that to unfold, which I like to see. And then we also have a very loose trine to Chiron for this eclipse. And this is not even a full trine. Some astrologers may not even report it as one. It's a 10-degree orb, which is way too wide for many astrologers. I like to use it because I have found my community quite sensitive. The trine here is an opportunity to work on self-integration and self-valuing, as well as, frankly, for some of you, getting your money together, get your money right, get like ask for the raise, reset your rates, this sort of thing, organize your money so it's a correct reflection of the way you value yourself. This is going to be a very corrective energy for all of us, as it helps us recognize how we can better have our own backs in our lives, especially where it comes to our creativity, our own authority of our lives, and our resources. Now, where overblown ego is happening, and we're too involved with the mechanisms of the ego's fears, this will open us up to releasing the ego's clenching so we can soften into more love, starting with self-love, and also starting with the energy of release of investment of what other people think of us at the expense of what we think of us. There's a wonderful creator here on YouTube that I follow named Cliff. I don't know if you've seen him. He is the creator of a channel of shorts. His specialty is feng shui and architecture. And his channel is called Dear Modern. And yesterday I saw he had put out a short. He had received a sponsorship from an AI sponsor that helps architects render 3D drawings in a way that shortens the craft time for them. And the response was overwhelming. What was interesting is that today, as I'm recording this, I saw Cliff put out a apology video for using artificial intelligence, because the many of the comments that people shared in that underneath that video, his audience is staunchly anti-AI apparently, which, go figure given the way it's being used at this point. But what was interesting about it is that Cliff in the apology video spoke to learning, he spoke to growth, he spoke to valuing his own craft and valuing his community, and really wanting to do his best to bring things to the community that could make their lives easier as opposed to harder, because not everyone can do what he does or afford what he does. So all of that to say, he spoke to his learning, he spoke to his growth, and he honestly was just so personable about it. I was like, okay, yeah, this is Chiron speaking to this eclipse. So I will link Dear Modern, it's what it's called. I'll link those two shorts below so that you can have a look and just get a taste of this energy and the way that it's corrective while simultaneously softening, and allows us to center ourselves where in our own truth more than in somebody else's truth. Because as much as there were members of his community that didn't like it, there's still something to be said for Cliff doing the best he could to serve his community in the process, um, and standing on his own value first. And that's what this is asking us to do, is to really stand in certainty and honoring of our own value here in the world, in the way that works for us, not the way that works for other people. And I think that's the thing that people forget. It's so easy for us to look at other people's lives and say, "Oh, you're not valuing yourself. You're devaluing," to look and point and to judge how other people value who they are. But at the end of the day, you're not standing there with that person when they have to look in the mirror. You don't go to sleep with that person at night. You don't wake up with them in the morning. Their competition, their only true judge is themselves, not us. And so this corrective energy here puts us back into communication with us being the only one who can judge us. And I felt like that was a really powerful, real-time expression of this Chiron, Leo, Chiron trine to the Leo eclipse energy here. So shout out to you, Cliff, for being the best you on the internet. I absolutely love everything you do, and I will be continuing to watch for sure. Um, so that I thought I would share that. So they're shorts. It'll be easy, quick to watch. Let's take a look at some other things in a moment. I'm going to talk about signs who are going to feel this most because this Leo eclipse is going to be real potent, but only for a few signs. And then there's also, I want to talk about how this is going to flow into the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse on August 28th at the end of this month momentarily. But before we get there, I will tell you what else is happening in the sky. I want to give you a quick overview so that you can know what else may be impacting you. I'm going to take a deeper dive on all of this in Star Club during the Leo new moon solar eclipse lunar circle that we do for every lunation, where I take a deeper dive into everything else that's going on in the sky outside the new and the full moon and how you can utilize it through journal prompts or ritual work. Let's take a look. We're going to talk about Mercury at that fifth degree of Leo. Mercury is conjunct Jupiter, sextile Venus, and Make here. We also see a square to the creation goddess in Scorpio here, as well as an opposition to Pluto and Juno there inside of Aquarius and Capricorn, a trine to Saturn and Neptune retrograde here in Aries. And we also see a sextile to Uranus there in Gemini. Whoa, 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 whoa. This is big, big energy. So many planets in a conversation with each other. The innermost planet closest to the sun being the planet that gets acted on. At the last lunation, that was Mars. So the upgrades would have been in our actions, ambitions, and drive. Now, with Mercury being the innermost planet, the one that's closest to the sun out of everything I just highlighted, Mercury will be the one receiving the biggest activation. This means that the upgrades are going to be with our thoughts, consciousness, and communication. With that conjunction to Jupiter in Leo at the 9th degree, everything in our consciousness gets bigger here. Communication can get copious, thoughts can get profuse. And while optimism is warranted and useful, there are some traps here. So I'm going to talk about how to avoid those in Star Club. This sextile from Venus and Make there in Libra brings love into a bit of a background focus here and gives it a grounded boost at this new moon solar eclipse because of the way Saturn is involved. However, there's a way that love stories will need to align in present time for this to be the right portal for you to take advantage of the way love can actually take a quantum leap here. The trine from Neptune and Saturn in Aries here is actually going to, as I said, there's a shedding of self going on with Saturn speaking to this new moon Leo eclipse that can be very, very positive. However, there's some ways that this can also go into the shadow. And I want to bring you into awareness around what the shadow can look like so that you know what to avoid and what to do to open the pathway for more of your best self to come forward and to bring that best self forward out of other people that you're connected to as well. With this communication, I forgot to mention Chiron is also speaking to Mercury there. This is by square, and this is really sort of the mental trap that underlies all of the positive optimism available here. I know some of you are listening to everything that I've just said, and you said, K Moon, if it's so positive, why do I feel so bad? There's a reason for that. It has to do with Chiron. There's a light side here. I'm going to give you how to work with that inside of Star Club's lunar circle. And then finally, this sextile from Uranus and Gemini. Again, this is what's going to open up the potential for great change and quantum leaps. It's just a matter of positioning yourself correctly for them. There's so much goodness in the sky. I just want you to be able to take advantage of it in a way that can serve you inside of your connection, also, and in your lives, and at your jobs, and with your families and your kids. Elsewhere in the sky, we're also going to take a deeper dive here with Venus in Libra, Venus's home sign, because of some of the aspects that Venus is receiving here from Pluto, from Uranus, from Neptune. There are some ways that there are some endings in love. This could be the end of a pattern or the end of a connection with a person. And the distinction is going to be very personal for each of us. We're going to take a deeper look at what this means for you in connections, as at the end of this month on August 31st, we'll be going into shadow for this year's Venus retrograde in Scorpio, the sign of endings, closures, and completions. So I want to get you guys prepared for that, because that Venus retrograde is one of many that's coming up. And in order to get you prepared, I have opened up an opportunity for you to join me and the community that I've built here in Star Club for a one-time conversation where we're going to be taking a look at retrograde energies in a retrograde class. This is called, I'm calling this year the year of breaking and rebuilding. That's what my guides have talked to me about when it comes to retrograde energy and the way this year works, specifically because the back half of this year is retrograde rich. And I want to show you a quick picture of what I mean so that you understand why I'm inviting you to join me for this now. Take a look here. This is the retrograde guide that's available inside of Star Club for members only. We are here in the month of August. But if you check out August, and you'll see all the planets there on the left-hand side of your screen. If you check out August, and we were just to go straight down, you'll see that every single planet is almost retrograde. But then as we get closer to September, October, and especially November, there's even more wacky retrograde craziness. And this energy is going to carry us through the end of the year, coloring the way we experience the final energies of 2026. Now, if you thought the beginning of the year was a roller coaster, wait till you get to September, October, and November. I will be here with you to walk you through it, but so that you're not waiting for my updates or waiting for energy to hit, I want to bring you into the retrograde class that I'm doing this week in Star Club for the Star Club members. It is exclusive to that group, but you can join us for $22 and get a copy of that 27-page guide with the key dates for all of those retrogrades at the end of the year. The link to join is below this video, but we're live this Thursday, August 13th from 4 to 6 p.m. And I'd really love for you to be there. Like I said, it's only $22, and it's going to give you the opportunity to know what to do with what's coming so that you're not waiting for the energy to hit. I really want you to know how to work with it, where it's going to land in your chart, and what your options are for managing it. Now, here's the thing. The recording will be available for 3 days after the live event. After that, you'll need to join Star Club in order to get access to the ongoing recording. Now, the guide you're going to get with your ticket to the live event. The event is $22. If you're already a member of Star Club, you're already in. I'll see you on Thursday. But that $22, if you like what you see, then join us in Star Club. You're going to be able to take that $22 and apply it to a Stellium membership in Star Club, which I'll talk to you about on Thursday. Star Club has 3 membership levels, 2 that come with readings. The Stellium membership comes with this class, lifetime access to it, as well as the full library of all of the other classes I've provided so far this year, and support to take you in to the remainder of this year. So I would love to see you there. Link to join is below this video. And I think this is where you're going to find that knowing what to do before things hit actually makes a huge difference in the quality of your experience as we move into the tail end of this year. Because this Venus retrograde, let's just let's put ourselves in our thoughts and prayers, friends. How about we do that? And then also join the class so you can learn what you're supposed to be focused on so it doesn't get overblown. We'll also talk about in the lunar circle this week, Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Aries. I'm going to go a bit deeper on that because I feel like this is an aspect that's not getting enough attention, but is absolutely a bit of the star of the show when it comes to what to expect with this eclipse as well. So, signs who are going to feel this particular eclipse most, of course, include Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus, in addition to Sagittarius and Aries if you have Sun, Moon, Rising, or Stellium in any of those signs, specifically the second or the third decan, you'll find that this particular solar eclipse may be very impactful for you. The activation dates for this eclipse started 30, 60, and 90 days ago, roughly, and will continue to reverberate 30, 60, and 90 days from now, with massive changes coming at the 30, 60, and 90 mark if they don't hit right this moment. So definitely join us in Star Club so you can learn more about how to work consciously with these energies in real time. Link to join the retrograde class for $22 is just below this video. I look forward to seeing you there. And now let's move on to our Pisces full moon lunar eclipse taking place on August 28th at 12:14 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, there is our Pisces full moon at the 4th degree of Pisces. This segment first look is a way for us to check how the energy progresses from our new moon in Leo solar eclipse and into our next lunation and understand what to expect on its way. So, very interesting energies here. We have the full moon in Pisces at that 4th degree, and we're receiving activation from Neptune, Chiron, Uranus, Mars in series, opposition from Mercury, as well as Pluto. This is about to be as transformative as any lunar energy this year. Fullest is in the mix, calling attention to toxicity as well. This is asking us to, of course, what's the word of the year? Change. Big changes here with this one, significant closures, but I really like the way this feels as I observe it. These closures actually look like long-standing things that it was just time for us to release concerning the ways that we held a particular chapter in our consciousness, in our subconsciousness, maybe even energetic programs that we didn't realize we were running or conditioning. I find it very interesting. Full moons are closures. We get one of those every month. Lunar eclipses, as my astrology teacher Nadia Shah says, are closures on steroids. This triples that because this is now the last sign of the zodiac, Pisces. And so we have triple ending energy here. We also have two energies that speak to closure and completion, also talking to this full moon. One of them is Ceres. She closes out seasons. One of them is Pluto, the governor of death and rebirth. To see this show up in this chart this way lets me know that this full moon lunar eclipse is going to wrap up something significant in our lives. For some, this is just going to be some sort of internal pattern, internal configuration, the way we carry a particular idea, connection, the way we carry a certain identity within ourselves. That closes at this time. For others of you, this closure is going to be external. We're talking work, we're talking money, we are talking about family, friendships, housing, these sorts of things. You're coming into the end game or the final state on something having to do with where Pisces sits in your chart and the planets that it activates. Definitely join me for the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse update in a couple weeks where we'll go even deeper on it then. And in the meantime, I can't wait to see you inside of our retrograde class. If you're joining us, I will see you there. Again, the link to join and get access to the guide for 22 USD is going to be just below this video, and you'll have the opportunity to get lifetime access to the recording and the full Star Club library just below this video when you join Star Club as well, and apply that $22 to your membership. Thank you all so much for your likes, your subscribes, your shares. I cannot wait to be with you again for the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse. And for those joining us on Thursday or grabbing that recording of the retrograde class, I will see you there. Take great care and bye for now.